Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Spurs with me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. So I just wanted to apologise for the fact that it's been nearly a week since I posted my last video. Now there is a reason for that other than the fact that I've been busy. It's just the fact that there's been so many links come out. I wanted to wait and see how many of them come to fruition. Now the reason for it is because part of me thought that there was a possibility, there was a PR stunt going on, because we've had so much bad PR this year regarding, sacking Mourinho 6 days before the cup final. There's obviously been the European Super League, putting a 29-year-old in as interim manager, and then the links with Pochettino to become manager, followed by links of Antonio Conte. So I just wanted to wait because part of me thought it was a PR stunt, bearing in mind season ticket renewals had to be done by 5 p.m. on Thursday. There was part of me that wondered, were they saying this so people jumped on it and were like, do you know what, I'm going to renew, this is exciting. And in fact, a couple of the guys that we normally go up with, we contacted them and they said they'd already renewed because they had the attitude of, what if you don't renew and then Pochettino comes back in, Harry Kane stays, Son stays and all that, and we have like a great season. So, from that sense, these things kind of work if that's the reason it's been done. So I was very sceptical, and I actually waited right until the deadline, and I haven't renewed my season ticket. And look, there's going to be people out there that anyone that doesn't renew their season ticket gets gypped from other fans. You're not a real fan, blah, blah, blah. Look, the fact is, I live in Chelmsford in Essex. I know it's not like massively far, but we tend to drive to the games as a group. Now, football is so much about the money these days. It's an absolute pain in the backside because there are so many midweek games, and we get quite a lot. Sundays, we get a lot of evening games as well. And, I have to be up at 4:30 in the morning, Monday to Friday. So the last thing I want to do is be going up on a Monday night, a Wednesday night, a Sunday night, and getting back at 11:30, midnight. And with, obviously, the COVID restrictions and stuff, we're not going to have everybody back in the stadium, which, it would annoy me if we got a game that our friends that go up there didn't get. So then we're separated for those, and it's just a bit of a pain in the backside. So, yeah, we are actually away on holiday as well. We're in Tiverton, and you can see behind me, lovely location. We've got cows in the field behind us. There's been some pheasants out there having a little fight amongst themselves. So just going to chill out for a week, try and escape as much of the drama of work and stuff, and just relax and come back recharged. And I thought it was going to be a lovely time. I was going to get here and there's going to be news breaking saying Conte signed, and that hasn't happened. Obviously, the Pochettino thing looks like it's dead and buried because there was the activation of the extra year on his contract. But there are rumours that activation wasn't just to put us off and for compensation. Apparently, if he was to win the Cups or guarantee them Champions League football next season, that was automatically activated. Whereas Ajax with Ten Hag, they activated the clause just so they get more compensation if he was to go. So then obviously we put all our eggs in one basket with Conte. But that looks like it could be dead and buried. There's a reporter that's come out who's usually very reliable in the Italian press, saying that it looks like it could be on the back burner. Sky Italia have now come out saying that apparently Conte is not convinced that with the current squad or in the immediate season we can contribute to trophies or even close the gap on the other teams in the top four. Look, and there was part of me thinking, why would Conte want to come to Spurs anyway? The guy is a serial winner, more so than Mourinho. His success over the last few seasons hasn't been as good. I know he's won some cups, but Conte has won 5 league titles in his last 7 years. He took a squad with Italy in, Euro 2016 that were pretty poor, shouldn't have got out the group stages and managed to get the best out of them. He turned Victor Moses into an absolute weapon and one of the best wing-backs at the time when he won the league with Chelsea, which was also, unfortunately, the season we were pushing for a Premier League title and we got pipped to it by that man Conte. So I was thinking, why would he take on a club that are so distant from even being in the top four, sitting in the Europa Conference League, and come to us without certain guarantees? Now, one of them apparently was that Harry Kane would have to stay, which is an easy one because He's contracted till 2024, so Levy can just turn around and say, look, you ain't going anywhere. And it's a bit of a sour thing to do, but essentially you're contracted to a club, so you have to do the job. On top of that, he's going to want players. Everywhere he's been, he's had a good amount of money to spend and overhauled squads. And we're talking at Juventus, I think there was one season where he brought in 12, 13 new players. At Chelsea, he brought in 9 or 10 new players. Like, this guy overhauls squads. Financially, without selling Kane, we're pretty much restricted. The players that we are going to get rid of, unfortunately, are people like Sissoko, Lamela, people that aren't going to bring us in a lot of cash. The only ones that will are going to be the English lads, because they always go for an overpriced fee. But who's going to want them? Who is going to want to buy Dyer after the season he's had? Would you? I certainly wouldn't. So look, it looks like it could be dead and buried. Apparently he's going to mull it over on the weekend and make a decision Monday. Then also Fabio Patrici is a guy they want to bring in, a sporting director. He's worked with Conte previously at Juventus. After he left Juventus, Patrici then stayed. He's been there for 11 years. He's a guy that, he spends a lot of cash. If you look at some of the players that they've brought in, they've been for huge fees. He is good at getting a free transfer as well. I think they brought Pogba in for a free. Aaron Ramsey's another one that went in there on a free. There are some absolute stinkers in there as well, but you get that with everyone. But if he comes in, then what happens to Steve Hitchen? He hasn't been great himself, but there are a few players, people like Steven Bergwijn, that could possibly become stars in the future. Obviously, Joe Rodon, Ryan Sessegnon, they're all players that we think could have big futures. So we might actually look back on Steve Hitchen's time and think we slated him at the time, but essentially he actually done a good job for us. But apparently Patrici is probably going to come in, and one of his jobs is going to be to convince Conte to come. I still don't think it's going to happen unless they offer him an absolute wedge of cash, tell him that Kane is going to stay, and then say, look, we are going to give you a massive war chest to go out and sign the players you need to sign. But then are they going to want to come for Europa Conference League football? I don't know. And then there's the thing that we're trying to sign players without even having a manager. Obviously, Anderson had a very good season at Fulham, albeit they got relegated. And I do think he'd be a good player. But apparently we're looking to sign him. It's convincing that he'll come. He's not going to cost too much. I think it's like 20, 25 million, which is not a tremendous amount of money for a player of his quality. But is the manager incoming going to want him? Then there's going to be players that might not come back. Obviously, Ancelotti has now got the Real Madrid job. He's come out and spoken about Bale, and we know he likes him. He actually wanted to bring him to Everton, and that didn't happen. And he's come out saying, look, Bale will have the motivation to want to play. Look, whether Bale wants to stay there or not, who knows? But a year of football in Real Madrid and his last year, he's not going to turn it down. But Ancelotti's hand may be forced in the sense that Bale is on massive wages, and the Spanish clubs, a lot of them are in financial trouble at the moment. So Bale could be pushed out the door, but then he could refuse as well. So that could be one that's not coming back. So I really don't know. Obviously, the Pochettino thing, technically it could still happen. If we're not going to get Conte, we can go in and really push for him. But the reports are coming out. PSG are very happy with him. The extension's happened on the contract. He hasn't publicly come out and said he wants to go, but that's not really in Pochettino's nature. He's, a very humble, nice guy, very well-mannered, doesn't speak out too often, so I wouldn't expect him to come out and say anything. Obviously, he was a PSG captain back in the day, so he's not going to want to ruffle the feathers with the club and the fan base, which means we'll have to look at other options. And as I keep saying, Graham Potter, for me, is somebody we should look to bring in. We are not an attractive option for many of the top managers at the moment because of the state we're in. Like, who wants to work with Daniel Levy? You're going to come in, he's not going to give him the cash. We have a very big habit of saying, look, these are my targets, and Daniel Levy will go, that's great, but what I'm going to do instead is get you the downgraded version because they're cheaper. So that's the worry of a manager coming in, having to work with him. And look, Mourinho obviously had his flaws in the sense that he throws out players like he does at every club. He did it to Luke Shaw at Manchester United. We had it with Dele Alli here. He had moments where he was bringing Bale in and out. Matt Doherty obviously had a rough time. All of our centre-backs, Toby, Dyer and Sanchez, have had periods where they've been in and out the squad for like long periods of time as sort of a punishment. So from that, I blame him. But essentially, Mourinho's one of the managers. If you give him the targets he wants, would we have finished in the top four? Most probably. So Daniel Levy has to take a massive, massive hit on that. And then if you bring Conte in and do the exact same thing that you've just done with Mourinho, Conte's not going to bring us any trophies. He's not going to bring us top four. These managers have to be backed. So in my view, bring in a less experienced manager that's going to bring an exciting brand of football that will work with the players they've currently got, but then add a few. Like for me, as I've said in many videos, Potter, if you gave him a striker, like the guy could be absolutely deadly as a manager, and I think that is the way to go. But obviously managers are going to be getting eaten up now. You know, the Palace job, the Everton job. Nuno is another guy that they were looking at, but you know, he's heavily linked with many jobs at the moment. So the longer we wait, the more likely we are to miss out. Like if it was me, I would speak to Conte and say, look, we're going to give you this amount of money. Kane will stay. Here's your war chest going into next season. Take it or leave it. We need a decision tomorrow. And if he says no, move on and get someone else, because you can't afford for these alternative managers to get snapped up. Ten Hag is still technically a possibility. Just financially, it's not something Levy wants. And part of the reason he wanted Conte is because there is no fee to get him in the door. But then he's going to cost a lot of money. He's one of the highest paid managers in world football. He wanted, 20 million a season, and they were going to offer him 15. Then there was a quibble over 3 million difference. There was also quibbles about the fact that he wants 7 backroom staff, which he had at Inter Milan, and we were only going to give him 4. You can't dick about with these top flight managers. You either give them what they want or you don't bother. Levy needs to realise you can't bargain with the best. If you want to be the best, you have to shell out the dough. And that's just the way it is. But look, we'll put a nip in that for now and move on to some other news. We'll finish off with something bright, and then we'll talk about what the next video is going to be about, which I'll record tomorrow and then drop as soon as I can. So we spoke about the fact, Bale's going to have to go back to Madrid and whatnot. Serge Aurier apparently has an agreement with the chairman that he will go if the right offer comes in. He feels like he's at the end of the cycle. We've had cup finals, with the Champions League final, we've pushed for the title, it hasn't happened. He wants to return to PSG. Now, whether they want him or not, I don't know. But if a decent offer comes in, it looks like he's on the move. Moussa Sissoko has also come out and said there's a possibility that he'll go. I don't think any of us are too bothered. He hasn't had the best season for us. I think his legs are kind of going a little bit. He doesn't contribute anything going forward anyway, so I think it is time for him to go. Now, that's going to be for a loss. Definitely going to be for a loss. We signed him for 30 million. We'll be lucky if we get 10 for him based on his age and what he's offering at the moment. But look, he's done a job for us. Lucas Moura has come out and he done a massive interview talking about, the fact that we're disappointed and blah, blah, blah. He wants to win trophies at Spurs. So ideally, unless a big offer comes in for him to move somewhere, I think Moura looks like he wants to stay. Lamela will probably be the one to go out the door. Ajax have come in for Steven Bergwijn. They've offered 15 million. Apparently we're holding out for 25 million. In my personal opinion, I don't want him to go. He's still only young. He's 23. I feel like under the right manager and deployed in the right position, he can be very effective going forward. Hugo Lloris is one where apparently they turned around and said he was going to at least give us 1 more year. And now there's been a little bit of talk suggesting that his future now remains uncertain. Can you blame him with all the stuff that's going on at the club at the moment, the uncertainty, the competition we're going to be playing in next year? There's a possibility he goes. And obviously Gazaniga's now gone as well, which leaves us with just Joe Hart. We are looking at goalkeepers anyway, but whether we get anyone in that we actually want, who knows? I mean, the idea with Lloris staying was that we were going to have time to look for another goalkeeper. Gave us a year to signal out who we want to be his real successor. So if he goes, that's a big blow, because based on expected saves, he is top of the charts. He makes more saves than he should. I know he has a couple of howlers that cost us games, but he saves us more points than he costs us. So, yeah. Kane and Son, they made it into the PFA Team of the Year, which you would expect. Both had incredible seasons, although Sonny tailed off towards the end. But still, for him, it was the most goals and assists he's had in a season for Spurs. Harry Kane finished top of both of those charts. And then obviously, Gareth Bale for us, he had the best goals to minutes ratio in the league. And it's just incredible that we had a guy that was top of goals and assists. Son was fourth in both of those categories. And then Gareth Bale was way ahead of everyone in goals per minutes. And yet we still didn't manage to finish in the top four. And that is incredible. But yeah, congratulations on those two making the PFA Team of the Year. And it was dominated by a lot of Manchester City players. A little bit of transfer news other than the Anderson possibility. There's been a random link today that Man United are looking at the possibility of signing Harry Winks. Now, I don't think it's from the most reliable source, but nonetheless, the link is in there. Look, he is a talented player, and we saw in the Spurs documentary, The All or Nothing, that Jose Mourinho was talking to his assistant, Sacramento, and saying, Winksy is a good player, yeah? And for some reason or not, it just hasn't worked out. Maybe it's the system that Jose was playing. But, there is a player in there. And unfortunately, I think his confidence has just been knocked. So fingers crossed another manager comes in and gets something better out of him. If not, he could be on the way out. Skip is obviously the natural replacement. But if Winks stays, I would like to see Skip go back out on loan to Norwich in the Premier League. Because obviously he smashed it in the Championship. But I don't want Skip to come back and be a rotation player. If he goes to Norwich, he's going to be on that team sheet every game. He played so many minutes for them and unfortunately picked up an injury right at the end of the season. So if he can get a Premier League season under his belt where he plays the majority of the games, that'd be a massive, massive benefit going forward. And then I want to congratulate Troy Parrott. He had a pretty dismal season out on loan. Obviously picked up an injury early on and then moved on to another club, and it was just looking like one of those really difficult seasons that you have when you start going out on loan. But for Ireland, he's gone out there, he's got his first 2 goals for them. That's right, he picked up a brace. The first goal was actually a really good goal, a nice bit of individual, played the ball along the floor into the bottom left-hand corner. He got his second goal, so it's great for him, good for his confidence. And then we'll finish up today just to talk about Danny Rose. Obviously, he's left the club, our longest-serving player, and this is what the video is going to be about tomorrow. I'm going to go through what he actually said. He had a very long interview, which I think is nice, and after the way he was treated, he deserved that respect from the club to be able to do a lengthy interview and talk about stuff. So we'll go through that tomorrow, and then I'll post that one. Or if not, you can just go on the Spurs website yourselves and have a little read through. But I just thought that was kind of nice after everything that he's been through the last year, that he was able to say his goodbye. And unfortunately, he couldn't do it in front of the fans at the stadium. So, look, that is it for the football-related stuff. Now, just a little bit about the channel itself. Look, I'm really happy. It's grown nicely considering how long I've been doing it. Obviously, there's an Instagram page as well now, which is at speaking_Spurs. So if you haven't already, go on there and give a follow. I've got plenty of time this week to be putting up loads of content, so I will be doing that. But yeah, this YouTube channel now has 79 subscribers, which is great because it's very hard to get subscribers. It's the hardest thing. So if you're one of my regular viewers and you haven't subscribed already, please do so. If you've got friends that are Spurs fans, hit them up with a link, pass them onto the channel, get them watching. And if we are playing against anyone, and they're a fan of the team we're against, once I do an analysis, point them this way. Like the Leeds fans absolutely lapped up the analysis of our game against them. That video is currently sitting, bearing in mind we've played them weeks ago now, that video is currently sitting on 1,959 views, and that is still going up. I would have thought like the week after the game would have been the limit of people watching it, but there's still people watching it now. So that one has really blown up, and there's been loads of comments from Leeds fans talking about the fact that they liked my analysis and how fair I was and stuff like that. So that is massive. So to all of you so far that have been following the channel regularly, massive, massive thanks to you guys. Without you out there, this couldn't happen. So yes, massive, massive thank you. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe. If you enjoy the videos, be sure to hit them with a like. That's just smash the thumbs up down there. And you can even turn on the bell notifications so you get notified when the next video goes live. So yes, as I said, thank you so much. Let's keep this channel growing. Once we hit the new season, I will be doing videos where we do essentially watch-alongs it won't be a full watch along because that's just too long, and until you get to a certain point you can't do live videos, so it will just be little clips of me and whoever I'm watching the game with, probably screaming at the telly, hopefully not swearing our heads off, but you never know. So yeah, I'll try and get that the Danny Rose one done tomorrow. Stay safe, guys. I'm going to enjoy a week away. Traffic was a bit of a nightmare. It was meant to be just over a 4-hour drive and it took 6.5 hours. The weather was terrible most of the way. The British drivers, as you know, with a bit of rain, most of them become terrible. There was accidents everywhere at A12, M25, M4, M5, just everywhere. Like police cars, ambulances, constantly going up the road, crawling. But finally got here. The weather sorted itself out and it was beautiful. And we're surrounded by great stuff. We're going to enjoy the week and I will still be doing videos. So stay safe, guys. And as always, come on you Spurs.